It is a heart-touching story about faith and hope. They say faith can move mountains. You would have heard this proverb that faith can move mountains. Faith. Who has written this story? It is G.L. Fuentes. Alright, G.L. Fuentes. The setting is in a rural countryside in Mexico. That is what the setting is. Let's see what the main characters are. So by far we have only read and known about Lencho in this story. Discussing the explanation part also. Hello students, today we are going to read a letter to God. A story that shows unshakable faith, kindness and an ironic twist towards the end. So let's just get started with it. Let's know what the story is all about. So, it is a heart-touching story about faith and hope. This is nothing, just a story about faith and hope. A poor farmer writes a letter to God asking for help. This is what the story is going to be about. That is what I was saying, that it is going to be about unshakable faith. So, you will get to know about it. Let's just read this very small paragraph which is given in the NCERT book. Before we start discussing it, I would want you to pause the video and read it by yourself first, and then we will discuss and read. Alright, I hope you would have read it. Let's see. They say faith can move mountains. You would have heard this proverb that faith can move mountains. Faith has that much strength that it can even move mountains. You need to have faith in something, and hence it will be accomplished for you. But what should we put our faith in? That is the question this story delicately possesses. Lencho is a farmer, as we have read in the very second slide also, who writes a letter to God when his crops are ruined and destroyed, asking for 100 pesos. Does Lencho's letter reach God? So he writes a letter. Does it reach God? That is what we are going to learn. Does God send him the money? Since he needed help, he required help from God, and in terms of money he needed help. Did he get that or not? Think what your answers these questions would be and guess how the story continues before you begin to read it. So you can think of these questions and ponder about it. Let's just start reading and knowing about the author also. Okay, so who has written this story? It is G.L. Fuentes. Alright, G.L. Fuentes, he's a Mexican writer. He is a Mexican novelist, poet and journalist known for his deep insights into rural Mexican life and social struggles. This is a Mexican writer and he writes about the life of rural Mexican people. His works highlight the hardships of poor farmers and reflect themes of faith, resilience, and human emotion. This is what this author writes about. G.L. Fuentes. All right, let's now get to see what is the setting for our story. The setting is in a rural countryside in Mexico. That is what the setting is. Lencho's house is on a hill. Since we are going to talk about Lencho, we are going to delve deeper into Lencho's story. So Lencho lives in a house which is on a hill surrounded by vast field of crops. The land is dry. Okay, surrounding him, the land is dry, dependent on rainfall and making agriculture the main source of survival. That is why he is dependent on rain and he is dependent on his agricultural produce, okay, for his survival. Let's see the next point. The place experiences a heavy storm. Since the land was so dry and parched, Lencho required rain, okay. He wanted downpour to happen, and it does happen in the story. We will read about it. And the place experiences not only a heavy downpour but also a heavy storm which completely destroys the crops. This is what the complete setting is all about. Let's see the next part, which is what is the story about. So let's see the introduction to the story. The story is about Lencho, as we have discussed, a poor farmer, his faith in God, and he believes that he will help him. After a storm destroys his crops, he writes a letter to God asking for money. Let's see what the main characters are. So by far we have only read and known about Lencho in this story, but there is also one more character, which is the postmaster, and the third character is God. But there is a question mark. So does God even exist in the story? You will see that in the story. Just stay hooked to the video and to the story. So Lencho is a hardworking and poor farmer with unshakable faith in God, whereas the postmaster is a kind-hearted man who is touched by Lencho's unshakable faith for God. Okay, and the God is the unknown recipient of Lencho's letter. So Lencho writes some letters. Does it reach God or not? We will get to know that in the story. But God is the unknown recipient of those particular letters. Let's now start with the reading, and we will be discussing the explanation part also. So we would be reading each and every line and would be discussing each and every line, that what happened in which part of the story. So right now I would like you to pause the video and give a reading by yourself first, and then we shall discuss. Okay. Alright, I hope that you would have given it a reading. Let's see how it starts. So this is the first two paragraphs are basically the settings, and as you know, according to the elements of a story, always we discuss the plot, the setting first, and then the characters are being introduced, and then their problems are being introduced, and then there comes a resolution. Okay, let's just see. The house, the only one in the entire valley. So you can see that how the house is being put in the limelight. Sat on the crest of a low hill. Okay, crest of a low hill. There were low hills only, not very high hills, low hills. And this is the crest of a low hill. Okay, the top of a hill, that is the crest of a hill. Okay, from this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers that always promised a good harvest. So now when you are reading this with me, are you able to imagine the complete scenario? Yes, I'm sure of that. Let's see the next part. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. So again, I hope you are able to imagine all this with me. Let's just once again recall what all we have read. First of all, the house is being described, which is only one in the entire valley. Second thing is, it is placed on the crest of a hill. The third thing is that from there one could see the river, the field of ripe corn, and it is dotted with flowers that always promised a good harvest. Okay, and then Lencho knows his field quite intimately. Intimately means something which he knows closely. All right, he knows it closely. I'll write the meaning here for you. What is the meaning of downpour? Rain. Okay, shower means again rain only, raining. So throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields closely, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. So you can totally interpret that how and why Lencho is looking towards the sky. He is looking towards the sky just to expect rain, because he is expecting rain to shower down on his field. Okay, now we are really going to get some water, woman. So he talks to a woman, and he says that after looking at the sky, when he expects that rain is going to happen, downpour is going to occur, then he says that yes, we are going to get some water, we are going to get some shower. The woman who was preparing supper, probably it might be the mother, Lencho's mother, or maybe his wife. Yes, God willing. So she also replies, yes, if the God wills to do it, wishes to do it, then definitely we are going to get it. The older boys were working in the field while the smaller ones were playing near the house. As usual, you see that the elder ones are always playing and the younger ones are always enjoying and having their fun and frolics. Okay, the smaller ones playing near the house until the woman called to them all, "Come for dinner." It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, and what had Lencho predicted? Lencho had predicted that it would rain. Big drops of rain began to fall, and you can see that his prediction got right. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. So he saw towards the northeast direction, and he saw that the clouds are approaching. Okay, they are coming towards the field. The air was fresh and sweet. Again, you can see that how beautifully the writer successfully describe the complete surroundings and the settings. So what is it all about? Which literary device the author uses whenever such a thing is being described in a literary piece? Please comment down that below in the comment section. All right, let's discuss. The air was fresh and sweet. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. So the man wanted uh, to feel the rain and to have pleasure. And when he returned, he exclaimed, these are not raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins." Very important part of the story. They are new coins. Why are raindrops being called the new coins? Because they are being associated and they are being here symbolized with money and hope. Okay, money and hope. Why money? Because as rain is going to come, it is going to prove to be a good and fruitful harvest. And if they will get a good harvest, then probably they are going to earn money. Hence comes the money. Why hope? Because the hope of getting financial um, earnings is what the hope is about. So these new coins are the symbols here. All right, let's see here. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are 5s. So they have even put a value to those raindrops, that the big drops are 10-cent pieces and the smaller ones, the little ones, are 5 cents. Okay, so that is that is what it was all about, these two particular paragraphs. Let's now just see the next part of the story. I would like you to again pause the video, read it by yourself, and then we will discuss each and every line of the story. All right, I hope you would have read the next part of the story. Let's just see and discuss. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. But suddenly a strong wind began. Let's see the first line first. The satisfied expression. Why the satisfied expression? Because he was happy that finally there is a downpour happening. The field of ripe corn with its flowers draped meaning covered. All right, covered. So the entire field was covered in a curtain of rain, and suddenly something new happens. What is that? But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and what that strong wind is going to do? What do you think a strong wind can do? It can probably destruct the crop. Yes, that is what you are going to see in the story. So you can already foresee what is going to happen next. So the strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones. So here you can see the weather changing from good to bad, from slight rainfall to here now large hailstones. So hailstorm has started here, began to fall. These truly did resemble new silver coins. Okay, the boys now these hailstones were looking like as if they are silver coins. Okay, the boys, exposing themselves to the rains, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. And as you know, that children are always unaffected by the way adults feel or the elders feel. So the children always do what they got to do. So what they are supposed to do in such a weather, they are supposed to enjoy. They will go outside and enjoy the rain. They will enjoy the hailstorm, and that is what the younger boys did. They went outside of the house and they actually collected the frozen pearls. What are these frozen pearls? These are nothing but the hailstones. All right, they are hailstones. So you can see here metaphor being used, that how hailstones are being compared to frozen pearls because they look like pearls but without using like or as. We will discuss more of the literary devices in detail in the next part of the video. Be hooked to the story. We are discussing the story right now. We will discuss it all along with the themes and everything else. Let's see the next part. It's really getting bad now, exclaimed the man. So the man said that it is now becoming bad. I did not expect this. I had expected good rain, but this is out of my expectations, beyond my expectations. Exclaimed the man. It was actually not exclamation, but kind of disappointment. Okay, I hope it passes quickly. And then he expects something more, that I hope this just gets ended. Okay, it did not pass quickly, and whenever you think of something, many a times that particular thing does not happen. And the same happened with Lencho also, that though he expected it to pass quickly, but it did not pass. For an hour the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield. So I hope students, you will be able to imagine the complete scenario again, that how the hail would have devastated and ruined the complete harvest. All right, on the whole valley, the field was white as if covered with snow. So you can see that if a lot of hailstones will be covering a field, how will it look like? It will look like as if the field is covered with snow. Not a leaf remained on the trees. That bad was the hailstorm. The corn was totally destroyed, devastated, and ruined. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness, and he was definitely disappointed. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this." So, this is what again is more important part of the story, that now Lencho is telling to his son, he is saying this to his son, that if our field would have been attacked by a plague of locust, it would have been much better. What is locust? Locust is a kind of an insect which ruins the crops, okay? Which ruins the crops by feeding on it. Ruins the crops by feeding on it. So then the main character Lencho says that if a group of locusts, the plague of locusts, would have attacked the crop, it would have left more than what is left right now at the present. And what is left right now? The devastated field. We have nothing but the hailstones in our hands now. Okay, the hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn, and you can totally imagine a farmer situation in such circumstances when he has no agricultural produce in his hands. How will he be able to afford the upcoming year? Because their entire year it just runs on one agricultural produce which they have. Okay, and that was completely devastated. That night was a sorrowful one. It was a pitiful night. It was a miserable night. All our work for nothing. They were talking amongst, there's no one who can help us. We'll all go hungry this year. That's all what they have imagined. Let's see the next part of the story. All right, I hope you would have understood this much part. Again, please stop and read it by yourself, and then let's discuss each and every line. I hope you would have read it. Let's see. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house, in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope. Hope from God. All right, let's just see and analyze this line once again. The author has beautifully put it by saying that in the hearts of all the people who were living in that valley, in that single house, because in the complete valley, as we have read in the beginning of the chapter, that only one house was there, which was Lencho's. So all the people who lived in that house, in all those hearts, one thing was common. What was that one thing? It was hope. Hope that someone would help us. And who is that someone? Help from God. Okay, God is going to help us. If God forbid no one is there to help us, then God is going to be. Okay. Don't be so upset even though this seems like a total loss. Remember, no one dies of hunger. This is what the reality is also, students, that no one ever actually dies. There is always something which saves you. There is always someone who will save. Maybe in the avatar of God, or maybe just a normal being or normal human being. Okay, that's what they say. No one dies of hunger. All through the night, Lancho thought only of his one hope, the help of God. So now he's constantly thinking about God, that God is the only one who's going to help me. Let's see. So, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything. So he has been told time and again, while he was a kid and when he grew up, that God is the one being who sees everything. His eyes are everywhere. So he expected the only beacon of hope in his life was of God. Okay, even what is deep in one's concise, and this is what he says, that even if you have something deep in your soul, embedded deep in your soul, embedded deep in your mind, that can be easily read and interpreted by God. Lenju was an ox of a man. So you can see that how he has been compared to an ox. Why? Because he was a hardworking man and a determined man. So he was a farmer and he was a determined, working like an animal in the fields. This is why he was being called an ox, but still he knew how to write. And in spite of the fact that he was a hardworking farmer, he still knew how to write. So he thinks of doing something, and which you already know, he would be thinking of writing a letter to God. The following Sunday at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and placed in the mail. Okay, he wrote it by himself and he himself carried it and he is going to mail it. It was nothing less than a letter to God. God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. And this was true. It was all right. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again. So he needed to sow his field again, and for that he needs money. And to live until the crop comes. As I told you that it's going to be hard for him to afford his complete family for an entire year. So for that he needed money. Until the crop comes, because the hailstorm has destroyed everything. So he did not write everything, students, here. Why? Because he knew that God is seeing and noticing everything, because he has his eyes everywhere on everything. He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mail box. So you can see how much faith he has on God, that he believes his God so much so that he knew that he will be there, or God will be there to help him. Let's see the next part of the story. What happens? What is there to unveil uh, for us? Okay, just pause the video and read it by yourself and then we will discuss. Alright, let's see the next part of the story. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss, laughing heartily, and showed him the letter to God, which Lencho had written, obviously. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. Okay, because they were supposed to post this letter, to mail this letter to God, and they did not know the address to God. Who has ever known the address to God? Nobody knows that. The postmaster, now, when the employee goes to the postmaster was a fat and amiable fellow. He was also a friendly fellow. So he also broke out laughing. So even he laughed. Even he found it hilarious and funny. But almost immediately he turned serious, tapping the letter on his desk, commented. So he said, what did he say? What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter. So he is just imagining the whole scenario. After he is done laughing, he actually um, applauds the fact, that appreciates the fact that what kind of faith this man has on his God. So starting up a correspondence with a God. So he's saying that this man, he has so much faith that he is starting a correspondence, a communication with God. He is writing letter to God and he is expecting a reply also in return. Also, let's see. So, in order not to shake the writer's faith, the writer Lencho. So, we should not shake his faith. Instead, the postmaster came with an idea: answer the letter. So, what was his idea? To answer the letter. But when he opened it, it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill. So, as you know, that Lencho in his letter would have written something to God, that God, I need money, since my crops have been devastated, and my family and I, all of us will go hungry, and we may even starve to death if you will not help us. So in order to help Lencho, he has to give more than something which is called the goodwill: ink and paper. So other than goodwill, ink and paper, one more thing was required, which was money. Okay, so but he stuck to his resolution. He asked for money from his employees. So now you can see that the postman also did not give up on his very request of asking money. He actually tried to fulfill it by asking for money from his employees. He himself gave part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. So in the name of charity also, he asked for money from different people. So you can see that how helpful the postman was, that he was trying to collect money, gather money for this one fellow Lencho, just because he did not want Lencho's faith to be shaken like that. Okay, let's see now the other part of the story. It was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos. So he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. So now he was not able to get 100 pesos. So Lencho required 100 pesos, but he was only able to get more than a half, which was actually 70 pesos. Okay, so he got 70, he collected 70 pesos. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature: God. So you can see he had put the money in the envelope, and the only thing he had written in the entire letter was God, the signature God. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was letter for him. And it was there. As you know, the postman has written it. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, who had actually done the deed, experiencing the contentment, the satisfaction of a man who has performed a good deed. So now the postmaster, postman, all of them have helped him, and they are looking, and the postmaster is looking out for him in contentment that he has done a good deed. Looked from his office, so he saw Lencho's activities from the office. We will get to know the last and the climax part of the story in this page now, in this slide now. I will like you to stop the video and read it by yourself first, and then we will see the climax of the story. All right, I hope you would have read it. Let's see. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Okay, so you can see again that how much faith he would have placed on God to expect money also, not just a reply, but money he expect. So when he was writing to God, he did not he did not expect that no reply would come. He knew that a reply would come. He knew that the money would come, and he knew that 100 pesos will be given by God to him. So he was not he did not even have a slightest surprise. Such was his confidence, but he became angry. So why did he become angry? When he counted the money, it was only 100 pesos. God could not have made a mistake. God cannot make a mistake. Nor could he have denied Lencho what he had requested. So he asked himself, neither can God make mistake, nor he can deny what I have requested. So what has happened? Let's see. Immediately, Lencho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. So again, he's going to write a letter. So he writes on the public writing table. He started to write with much wrinkling of his brow. So you can see that how tense the situation is. He is angry. He is disappointed that he has only got 70 pesos. of his bro caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp which he licked and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. Okay, so he buys the stamps and packs his envelope and then finally gets done with the task. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it as usual, because the postmaster himself was the god. There was no god apparently in the story, but the postmaster was replying in the name of God, and he was trying to help Lencho in the name of God. It said, God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. So this is not good. This is disappointing. Send me the rest. I want my other half of the money, since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through. Do not send it to me through the mail. Do send me the money, but do not send me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Lencho. So this is what Lencho's reply was, that please do send the money, but do not send it through mail, because the people working in the post office are a bunch of thieves. They are trying to steal my money. They have stolen the money that you have sent, and this is why I have received only 70 pesos. So he had such kind of faith on God that yes, God would have sent the 100 pesos amount to me, but it was the post office employees who have taken the money, and this is why the money has not reached me. So this was all about this chapter. I hope you would have liked the story, and I hope that line by line you would have understood each part of the story. And now in the next video we will cover everything, starting from the summary to the question answers to the themes to the literary devices being used by the poet, by the writer, sorry, in this chapter. So this was Letter to God, a letter to God by GL Fiontas. I hope you would have liked the video, and do not forget to watch the next part of it. I hope you have learned. So stay learning, keep learning, and stay curious. Love what you watched? Give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and subscribe for more.